If I'm just doing product shots, then I'll generally use V-Ray in Max. But because this model's going for sale on my Creative Market store, I'm going to take it into View and do some beauty renders for it, for product images to sell the model. And I'll be going through all of that when when the model's ready to be exported and imported into View. I noticed you used XNormal to do your normal maps bleakness. It's good software, it's fine. I actually use Gnarl to do mine, or Bitmap to Material Algorithmics, but I prefer Gnarl. I find it easier to use. But I've used XNormal. XNormal's pretty good too. Yeah, no, I agree. XNormal is good software. Again, the interface of XNormal I don't really like though. I find it a bit old-fashioned looking. But it does get the job done. One more corner here. I have to say, Bitmap to Material Algorithmics software, it's a bit clunky to use and it's a bit slow as well. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like I said, I've used XNormal, but not for a few years now. And I know guys that do use it swear by it. But I prefer to use Gnarl now, just because I like the interface and it's very quick. More so than Bitmap to Material. I find that to be very slow and clunky to use. Algorithmics, Bitmap to Material. So we've only got the base here to select, and then we can chamfer the edges. And again, for anyone new that's watching me, you'll notice that I move all around the screen to do a rotation or do a selection. That's just for the benefit of anyone that might want to learn Max, so that they can see where I'm hitting, where I'm going to and what I'm doing. If I work when I'm not streaming, I would use hotkeys or macros instead of actually physically moving the mouse all around the screen. But for the benefit of anyone watching, I do it so that you know what I'm doing it when I'm doing it, what buttons I'm pushing and what I'm hitting. Because macros are a great way to speed up your work. Is it Gnarl? You know, it could be. It's spelled K-N-A-L-D though. My pronunciation may be incorrect, but yeah. That's it there, K-N-A-L-D. Unless I've misspelt it, but I don't think I have. No problem, Sniper, okay? I'll be taking some of these textures into that program to do some normal mapping for them. Not all of the textures, but just a few here and there that I think would benefit from having a normal map when I take it into view. Generally, a lot of people believe with a normal map, you only generally want to use one when you're trying to take low-res geometry and make from a high-res model. Like when you're doing that type of work, you've got a low-res model and you want to make it look high-res, so you bake down the normal map that way. And that's valid, it is used for that, but it can be really beneficial too to use them just on normal textures to help with the rendering. It helps distribute the light when the program does the render much more evenly and a lot more naturally. So even geometry you might not think would need a normal map can benefit from having one. So you don't just use it to take a low-res mesh and make it look high-res. It can be used in a lot of different for a lot of different things. So. And like I said, I've found it really helps when you're rendering out in a 3D renderer like View. It helps to distribute the light more evenly and make it look more natural. Leadness, when I committed to 3D 2 weeks ago, it feels different now. Never realised it was so technical and not so creative before. It's both, yeah, it's both creative and technical. People maybe don't realise when they see a rendering or a 3D model just how technical it can be to create that. It's different from like doing a bitmap drawing or a painting or anything like that. It's a lot more technical in that regard. You mean you will do 3D professionally now the moment I get a first freelance job? Well, cool. You should, because you're talented. Your model looks great. I mean, you should be able to get 3D work without a problem, I would have thought. But do you know what it means to work 8 to 10 hours a day? I do. I've worked in the games industry before, and those hours were terrible. It's a lot longer than 8 or 10 hours a day. When I was working a couple of studios before the last one I was working at, during the crunch period, we were working 18 hours a day. That's why I stopped working for games companies. I decided that my health was more important than working on a game. I still do contract work for a games company, but because I don't work for them, I choose my own hours. And they're happy with that, and I'm happy with that, and that's the way it's going to be. I'm never going to work full-time again for another games company. I admire the guys that do it, and I did it for how long was I working for a games company? For probably about just over 5 years. And that was it. I prefer to do ArchViz now and work in that field because the hours are much more reasonable. And that's just the nature of games. I mean, you might have a couple of years to work on a game project, but there's a lot involved in creating a game. A lot more than people really realise. Between the programming and the artwork, it's a huge amount of work. Huge. So it's not that they want to work their stuff that hard. It's just they have to meet milestones and deadlines. Look, I'm not suggesting you don't do. If it's passion, if you've got a passion for working for a games company, and definitely do it. I'm not suggesting you don't. Oop, don't want that one. So give it a go. Do it. You may love it. I mean, just me, I didn't like the hours. And I found doing ArchViz work more interesting. because I don't have to be so concerned with polygon counts and texture sizes and that type of thing. So I'm free to be a bit more creative. But it is definitely an area that a lot of people want to work in, so I'm not suggesting you don't. I'm just saying be prepared for long hours. It's not as glamorous as you might think either. You're sitting at a desk in a dark room or a dimly lit room for hours on end, that's all you're doing. Most of the time. With 50 other guys. You did work on your own games for years as a hobby? Yep. Yeah, well you do. You know how much work goes into creating a game. It is. It's a huge amount of work. A lot of people generally don't understand just how much work is involved. And look, listen, I love playing games, and I still, like I said, do contract work for a games company here, so I haven't left the industry completely. I just prefer to do other types of work now more than games work. Like either ArchViz or cinema work. So. Although I haven't done cinema work for about a year now. Alright, I think we're nearly there. And again, usually you'd use the loop or the ring command to do this, but this model won't. It won't work on this model, so. No problem, Leadness. No worries, you eat your food, don't let it get cold. Alright, now I'm going to turn off edge faces here and just run around my model here to make sure that I've got every edge that I wanted. You see I've selected that edge in there, and that's a no-no. We don't want that. So that's why it always pays to double check before you apply any modifier that's going to alter the mesh. Why won't the ring or loop command work? It's because of the quantify mesh. It's breaking the looping and ring. Normally it would work, and normally that's how you'd do it, because you'd save yourself a lot of time. You wouldn't have to select them individually like I just did, but this quantify mesh modifier is preventing it from working on this particular model. The quantify mesh is not the problem, it's the model that's the problem. Okay, they look selected. I think I've got them all down the bottom. I'm just going to check the ones on the side here now. Yep, that all looks good. I'm going to check the ones on the top. Again, I've selected a face here that I shouldn't have. Or an edge, I should say, not a face. And it's easy to do. When you're doing these selections by hand, it's quite easy to accidentally select an edge you didn't mean to. You're going to pick up on it pretty quickly as soon as you put the chamfer modifier on those. So when you start beveling those edges, if you've got one selected that's wrong, you're going to know pretty quickly. It just helps to make sure that they're not, you don't have one selected ahead of time. Alright, I think we're pretty good. Alright, let's throw our modifier on top of this. And let's dial it back. It's way too much. And I'm also going to make 3 segments out of this just to give it a bit more of a rounded edge to it. I'm just going to pull back on the tension a bit as well. So that's helped us know that's not textured up. That's why there's stretching happening here, and I've purposely not textured it because there's another column that sits on top of it, so it's never going to be seen, for anyone wondering. So we've softened up our edges here. Just going to create a selection, call it all. That's just so if I ever want to reselect all of that after I deselect it, I can. But we've softened up our edges so our columns look natural, they look like they've been weathered. Let's exit isolation mode. We're going to grab that column and we're going to copy it to the other side of the model. Could you select the edges with the ring tool first and then quantify? No. I did try that. I did a test on that last night. What you end up finding happens as soon as you quantify the mesh, the edges you've selected start to spread out. So it doesn't just keep the edge selection, it actually selects inner edges as well. It's a good thought, and I did try it. It's something I thought of myself as well, but it didn't work, unfortunately. I'm just going to throw an edit poly on top of that to deselect those. And I'm going to jump into my top viewport. Just because Max is being really sluggish on me, I'm going to save my file just to be on the safe side. I'm going to save it as an iteration above, so instead of 15 I'm going to make it 16. And like I've explained, I do an iterative, every time I do a major change I save it out to a different file name. That way I can go back if anything doesn't work. Particularly after you start collapsing stacks, because then you can't go back. Yeah, but no, it was a good thought, Sniper Echo. And yeah, it is something I did try, but it didn't work. So I'll just wait for Max to save that out. And this is the last piece of geometry we had to texture up, so once we copy this across to the other side and rotate it 180 degrees. CG Gal, hey there, thanks for streaming your pressure. No problem, thank you for popping into chat and saying hi. I appreciate that. I hope you guys pick up something from watching me work. I show you my process, and I'm not saying my process is the best process or it's the right process or the only process, but through my years of working in 3D, this is how I do things. So you do save a lot as well. Yeah, it's always a good habit to get into because you never know when a program is going to crash on you and you don't want to lose hours of work. Yeah, 15 gigs of project files for a character does not surprise me. As you can see, I'm up to revision 16 now on this model, and I started at revision 1. So, well, that's good to hear. You can always, regardless of how new to modelling CG Gal you are, you can always pick up tips and tricks from everybody you watch. Even I watch other streamers that do 3D or artwork because you never know. It's always good to watch other people and see how they tackle a problem. You can always pick up new tips and tricks. You lost 6 hours of work, yeah. Always save. Max has built-in auto-save, and most software does, but I don't trust even that. I always manually save, because I've lost, like you, I've lost hours of work before as well. So it's very easy to do. So now I just get into the habit of saving regularly. And I even save in increments like leadness, so I can go back just in case. Because sometimes when you save a file, software will corrupt it as well. So if you save it as a new version, then you've always got the old version you can go back to. Alright, now you see with our column here we have an interesting texture on this side that you don't see on this side. And when I painted up this column, I did that on purpose because I knew I was going to be reusing that texture. And we can reuse it because it is so different on the opposite side, and no one will ever know that we've just copied the same texture over again. You don't need to be told twice. I'm sure you don't. It's something a lot of people, after the first time it happens, quickly learn to do. This column is not grouped, so Leakness, you went back like once or twice through 70 backup files. Yeah. What I tend to do is I do these increments, and you see I'm up to version 16 at the moment. Once I'm happy with the final version of the model, I will save out a version that's all ungrouped, unattached, like this one is at the moment. Then I'll save out a version that's all attached, which is the one I'll export into View, and then I'll probably delete all of those revisions from my hard drive. Once I'm happy with the final model, then I don't need the revisions anymore, because I keep two copies, an unattached copy and then an attached copy. Your ZBrush crashed once, yeah, that's happened. Right after you did a backup, well, at least you did a backup. Am I using a lot of array modifiers in this build? You see a lot of repeating elements. CGGal, no, I'm not. And that's because the actual geometry or shape of the garden terrace is so unusual that an array is not really going to work for me. It's good. An array is good if you're working on a set line or a set circle, but these aren't really even circles. It's more of a kidney bowl sort of shape. And the other reason I don't like to use a lot of arrays, you can use them for the initial layout, but nothing that you create should ever be perfectly the same. It's just not natural, particularly in an object like this, which is man-made. Thank you for the follow too, CGGal. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Anything that's man-made like this, it's never going to be perfect. When you use an array, it's going to place everything at exactly the same spot. And you may think, well, that's what you want, isn't it? It's not. You don't want exactly the same, particularly with this type of thing. You want it to be either off a little, angled a little. It just helps to add to the believability and realism of the model, because nothing in life is perfect. Like you'll notice on a couple of these railings here, a couple of them are bent in a little bit more than the others. They're not dead straight. And that's just to add some believability. See here? There's an angle that it's wider at the top than it is at the bottom here. And I've done that on purpose to add to the believability and the realism of the model. Yeah, and so an array is good to lay out, to do the initial layout if you want everything the right distance. But then I'd suggest going back in and moving things slightly on a few of them just to add a bit more realism to the model. Because people creating the model by hand are not going to, it's not a computer doing it. People are actually building it, so that it's not all going to be exactly the same. It is like nature. It's never perfect. That's exactly right. You know. So, and those little imperfections just help to sell the model as being believable. Because the human eye is very good at picking up on symmetry and that type of thing, and your eye will know. It'll look at a model and it'll think, I don't know what it is, but something about it just doesn't look right or looks too perfect. You did that with the build. You went back and made things tilted, and yep, that's the way to do it. That's the best way to do it. I mean, don't go nuts. Don't take a column that's meant to stand like that and make it stand like that unless it's maybe falling over. Just subtle little differences. I'm not suggesting you go really nuts, but just little tilts and little movements out of alignment. It's the hardest thing I had to force myself to learn. Yeah, well, being precious. I know what you mean. It's not the way real buildings are. Real buildings are not perfect. They're not made by machines. It didn't come off a production line. People actually physically built it with their hands. So you're never going to get anything that's completely perfect. And by adding those imperfections into your 3D models, you really help to sell the believability and reality of the model. Because like I said, your human eye is very good at picking up symmetry, and it will notice that something is too perfect. Most people probably won't know why they think it looks a bit odd, but they'll notice. So making just a couple of imperfections here and there will just help sell the realism of the model. Yeah, well, look, I'm the same as you guys. I'm a perfectionist as well, but it'll work against you with regard to if you want to create anything that looks real in 3D. It's the same with adding dirt to texturing. Like it's important to add dirt to your textures because nothing is ever completely clean, particularly on an object like this which sits outside. There's always going to be dirt that builds up on the model, and it's important to add it to make it look real. Because nothing is ever completely clean either. So yeah, make sure everything doesn't look too perfect, and make sure nothing ever doesn't look too clean, because those two things will really go against you in being a believable looking model. And that's right, your brain is wired to pick up patterns, neatness. I just want to get this final column in place so I can say that we've finished texturing. I'm keen to say yes, we've finished all of our texturing. We can move on. So unfortunately I didn't group this model, which is my bad. I should have grouped it when I made the initial column. So I'm going to have to jump inside the model here and select the pieces I want to delete. And I have to make sure too I don't select pieces here I don't want to delete. I could go into wireframe mode, which is what I may have to end up doing. If I'm careful, I should be able to grab it this way. Thank you. No, I don't mind. Like I say, while I work, I'm happy to show you my process, and I like what I do. I like to sit here and work. But my chat is important, and I'm here to help any of you guys with any questions you may have regarding 3D, or if I can. I don't know everything, but if I can help, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about, and I can help in any way, I'm more than happy to. I'm not here just to work on my own stuff. I want to try and help people as much as I can. I have all those selected, and I think I've got them all. No, that's my pleasure. No worries. So yeah, my chat is not just so you guys can say hi. I'm happy to help anyone that wants to pop in and ask a question or for anything I'm doing that they're not sure about. That's not to say anyone that just wants to watch me work. That's completely fine too. You don't have to chat. So I think I have them all selected. I'm just going to move it out of the way, and I do. So I'm going to move it back. I'm going to group it. That's just so I can make a selection much more easily next time. And I'm going to replace it with that column there. So I'm just going to go into isolation mode so I can see them without all of the rest of the model in the way. Your chat is pretty dead. Well, I don't know. Weren't there people? I'm trying to remember when I watched you the other day whether there were people in the chat or not. But I don't recall hearing. I haven't watched you enough lately to say so. Whether you, why that might be. I'm just going to move this model into place of the other one here. And I'm going to select the original model, which I'll know by a group. It's the only one that's grouped. People ask my ArtStation and my experience, and that's it. I find that unusual because I generally have a few people popping into my chat and asking me all sorts of different things. See, and as I was saying, because we, even though we're using the same texture, because we never see this side on the other side here, people are not going to know that we've cheated and used the same texture and didn't texture up a unique texture for it. But I think our model is completely textured now. All we have to do now is go through it and fix up some areas like, you see how this column is intersecting the floor? That's incorrect. I have to go and fix that up. There are a couple of other things like this column here I want to make larger, and a couple of these supports are actually intersecting the wall, generally around the back here. So just here. Little bits and pieces I have to go around and correct. So once we've done that, then I can bring in the other two angel statues that I want to move up to the top of the terrace and start growing some flowering ivy over it. The cool stuff will happen the moment I start working on the next model. Yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah, I picked this one. Let me have a look. What is this? Hang on, I'm opening it up now. So what are we looking at here? This is the next character you're going to work on. Very nice. So this isn't your image though, is it? But the character will look great. Why is my column in pieces? Good question. No good reason really. Yeah, I like the design as well, lateness. My column was in pieces because when I modelled it, I only modelled one side, and then I duplicated that to make the four sides of the model. So you'll notice that these columns have a hole down the middle of them. Generally, I wouldn't recommend you do that. I recommend you work with a cube, and that's what I did for these columns at the top. And it's a better way to work. It was just me, my bad. I shouldn't have done it that way. I designed it that way initially because I thought it might make it more interesting, and it did actually make one interesting feature, which is if you look at the columns here, these are built the same way. They're built out of pieces, and it makes the column look more natural, and it looks like it's been made from blocks, which is how you would expect a column to be built. Because generally a column is not chiseled out of one piece of stone. Generally it's made up of pieces. And by me making it out of these pieces, it looks like it's been put together the way you naturally would put a column together. So in one way it's good because it's helped me get that believability in the look of the column itself, in that it makes it look like it's been built of pieces, like I said. Because generally a column won't be built from a block of solid stone. But it's definitely a more complicated way to work. And I would generally recommend you do it the same way I did the top ones and work with blocks. Solid pieces of solid squares, and do it that way. But it can have its uses. But it can be a pain. So. Yeah, I just thought it helped, like I said, add to the realism of the look of the column, because it makes it look like it's been built of blocks of stone. So not only do you have the texture to help sell the believability, but you actually have the geometry as well. But yeah, no, do it the way I've done the top, and do it in blocks. That's an easier way to work, because you run into all sorts of problems doing it that way. Nothing you can't fix, but hey. Oop, what's going on here? Oh, you wanted to post a link, CG Gal? Just give me a second. Don't post a link because Nightbot will time you out. I will add you to the regulars list, which will permit you to post a link, okay? So just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going into my control panel, and I'm going to add you as a regular, so that'll permit you to post a link. Oh, cancel. Just a sec, I'm having a problem here. So CGGL. All right. You should be good to post a link now, CGGal. I've added you to the regulars, so Nightbot won't shouldn't time you out. Because I always like looking at you guys' work. I'm happy to check it out. And you might let me know too if you do post a link and you want to show me any of your work, whether it's okay for me to show it on stream. Some people might. I know some people don't want their stuff shown on stream, and I'm happy not to if you prefer not. So if you do post a link to your work that you want me to look at, just tell me whether it's okay to show everyone or not. No problem. So now that we have our model completely textured up, all we have to do, like I said, is make those few alterations, fixes to the some of the geometry where it's intersecting bits and pieces, and then we can bring in the remaining 2 angel statues, which I'm going to be placing up on the top here, and they're going to be pointing up to the dome. I've already created them. And then we're just going to grow some flowering ivy on the model, and we are done. Then I can bring it into Eon View and start doing some beauty renders in a full-on 3D environment. You were just showing you what you've been working on. It's not as intricate, but it's a start. And yes, I can show it. Cool. All right, let me have a look. So this is CGGal's work. And it's come on, load up. Okay, so you're doing an interior. Yep. It's looking quite nice. What are you using? What are you rendering it in? What 3D software are you working in? But it's looking very nice. I see a little bit of spotting happening in the shadows here, and that's probably just a rendering setting. You just need to increase your photons a bit. You're working in Blender. Okay, cool. I know a lot of you guys do work in Blender. That's looking very nice. Very nice. You going to do the full-on room, or is it just more of this section of the wall? Texturing, you started to texture it up, and that's looking quite nice. It's a temp render. Yep, no worries. I understand. That's like I said, because yeah. No, it is looking good. Very nice. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys do use Blender. Like I know Sniper Echo uses it, and I know Galen uses it. And it's perfectly fine. It's very good 3D software. Like I said, all 3D software now is very good, so you can't go wrong no matter what you use. Alright, let's do a save here on our file. Now that we've completed the texturing. And Alchemist, thank you for the follow as well. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it every time you guys follow me on Twitch. So thank you. Thank you guys. Remember, like I said, if you've got any questions, feel free to pop into chat and ask me. That's not a problem. If you just want to watch, then that's completely cool too. Like now we've finished the texturing of this model. Tomorrow I will be bringing in the remaining 2 angel statues, which are different from the 2 at the front, that I'm going to be putting up here on either side. And then we're going to be growing some flowering ivy in sections of the model, and that's just to help soften it up a bit, because I just feel that the model at the moment looks a bit too hard, for lack of a better word. So we will grow some ivy on it, and that'll just help to soften it up. We'll do that tomorrow. I'm actually going to call it a day today though, guys. I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the US. That's 12 p.m. in Australia and 1 a.m. in the UK. I do always post 15 minutes before I go live to my Twitter page at PhilDoes3D. So if you're not sure, you can keep an eye on that, and you can find out that way. Like I said though, I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. And we will finish up the design on the model by adding these statues, growing some flowering ivy, and just fixing those intersections that are happening. Thank you guys very much for watching. It's pretty late for you, Eliteness. Yeah, I know it's hard for me to choose a time that's good for everyone because everyone's all around the world. Not sure if my sleeping schedule will be enough to watch. That's cool. Try and, if you can't watch, then that's completely fine. Look, I know you guys can't be watching me every time I stream. I understand that. That's fine. Just if you're around and you want to watch, I'll be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. If you can't make it, that's completely fine, guys. I understand. You're quite welcome, CG Gal. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys watching me. Like I said, I will be back on again tomorrow at 5. If you can't watch, that's fine. If you're not sure when I'm live, like I said, I post 15 minutes before I'm about to go live to my Twitter page. Thank you guys that followed the channel today. I appreciate that. I will be back on again tomorrow for those that want to tune in and watch me finish off this model. After tomorrow, then the next stage for this model will be exporting it and taking it into Eon View to do beauty renders in a 3D environment with 3D vegetation. So that'll be the next thing. No problem, Sniper Echo. Well, I hope you can make it to Eliteness, but if you can't, that's fine. I understand. And thank you, CG Gal. I'll see you tomorrow. You sleep well as well, and you guys have a good night. I will catch you next time. I'll be on tomorrow, and if you're around, I'll catch you then. See you guys.